Thanks so much for being a part of our study in Deuteronomy. We've had fun doing some of these videos. We do them all on the same day, and if you listen to yesterday and the day before, we've enjoyed some of our conversation here. Rudy and I, for years, have sat actually in the back of his restaurant, and we've talked about the Bible. Now we do it in the front. The lighting's better, and get to involve you through video. We're looking at chapter 14 and verse 22 about the tithe. It says, verse 22, set apart a tithe of all the yield of your seed that is brought in yearly from the field, in the presence of the Lord your God, the place where he will choose for a dwelling for his name. And you shall eat the tithe of your grain, your wine, your oil, as well as the firstlings of your herd, so that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. Let me skip down. He talks about if you can't get to Jerusalem, which will ultimately where they go, that you can turn it into money, take it to the place where God you choose, and you'll spend your money there, and you shall eat in the presence of the Lord your God. And then he goes on, verse 27, don't miss the Levites. They're the ones that don't have an inheritance in the land. They're the priestly class. They're resident in your towns. Don't neglect them because they have no allotment. And then on down it says, include the resident aliens. Now, those are not folks from outer space. They would be what we call today immigrants. The orphans, the widows in your towns, so that they can join you in this. Now, I've mashed together a lot of verses. That's verses 1 through 29. But Rudy, why don't you talk to us about the tithe, and then let's kind of pick this apart.
Well, the tithing from an agrarian society would be the grain or the herds that a farmer would have.
Right.
And in historical times, the Levites actually lived in cities and were the judges for, they sat in judgment for whatever disagreement people had with one another. And that was basically their job. They were the legal system.
Right.
And their payment came from, really coming from 1/10, and it's really 1/10 of everything that a person would make through the whole year, but 1/10 goes to the Levites, which if you were to do the math, and I've said this before, you find out that it ends up being equal portions for all 12 tribes because of this 1/10. And but it also says that in time to come, when I've increased the size of the nation and it becomes too far away, then you can convert what you were going to bring your tithe into silver, bring it to Jerusalem, and purchase stuff. The thing is, in the festivals of Israel, the fall festival actually is a month long. It starts with Rosh Hashanah, which is the first day of the 7th month. Then the Day of Atonement's the 10th day of the month. Then Sukkot, the harvest of ingathering, starts on the 15th and lasts for 7 days, which it has an 8th day. So you ultimately are in Jerusalem from the first day of the 7th month to the 23rd, to the 22nd, and really you can't leave on the 22nd, so you're there till the 23rd. So you're there for a whole month, and one of the prescriptions is that you take all of what you tithing, and you've given it to the Levites, their portion, but you bring that, and that's what you eat in Jerusalem for this whole month.
Right.
When we see Jesus clearing out the temple, he wasn't angry about them selling stuff, because he already made a statute saying that if it was too far, that you could come to Jerusalem and buy. So he knew that people needed to buy things.
Mm-hmm.
What he was saying was, the temple is not a supermarket.
Yeah, correct. One of the things that grabs me in this passage, and again, this is one of the reasons why we're reading Deuteronomy, is the phrase, you'll eat in the presence of the Lord. Years ago, one of the heads of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes they have a golf tournament. His name's John Erickson. They have a golf tournament in his honor, and they had a dinner following the golf tournament, and he invited Bill Self that was his first year at KU, to come and sit at the head table at the golf tournament. John also invited me to sit at the head table with
nice company.
with Bill Self. I didn't tell them that I was a Missouri fan. I just sat and soaked up the atmosphere. All of that being said, Bill Self is just a guy. He's been created by God. God was saying to his people, yesterday we looked at a verse where he said, "You are my children." And now he says, "Come eat in my presence. Come be near me." And that just blows me away to know that we can eat in the presence of God. That ought to change our blessing over our food a little bit. Lord, I am eating in your presence today. I think about the disciples and how those who followed Jesus through Galilee and then down to Jerusalem, they got to eat with him every day. You know, they got to see him feed people. But to eat in the presence of God, the awesomeness of being in God's presence, that sort of blows me away.
I'm very thankful that when I get to eat, and
Yes.
Wish I didn't eat quite as much, but I'm really thankful that
Right.
for food, and really there's
Right.
only one person to be thankful to.
Right. Louder. A little louder.
Louder.
Yeah. So I think maybe one other thing we want to touch on here, and then we're going to close out, and that is he keeps reminding us that he cares about those who are the vulnerable in society. And so part of that tithe involves taking care of what's called the resident alien, or we call today an immigrant.
Widows, orphans, and aliens.
Widows, orphans, right. And they're the classic expression of the vulnerable of society and those who are most apt to be oppressed.
And it's clear that it's in the third year that this tithe stays within the town that they're living in, so that the widows, orphans, and aliens will have enough. And just like the percentage of the Levites getting 10% was the correct amount, this is the correct amount for the poor that are in the cities. And the thing is that it's not just any 3 years. It's every 3 years, starting from a point which nobody really knows what year that was, so that you would know the year of the tithe, that you would know the year that was sabbatical, that you would know the year of Jubilee. You just can't pick, well, you know, this person helped me, needs help, and I'm gonna extend my hand to help them, and then 7 years I let them go. No, it has to do with the number of years and the year it is specifically within that. The third year of the tithe is important because it never interferes with the sabbatical year. And there's 2 of those within a sabbatical year.
Right.
So,
And we're going to get to sabbatical year tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So hang on, because this is one I told Rudy I want to try to cover tomorrow, about 11 verses. And I'm anxious to get to that and to hear what Rudy has to say. So thank you for watching. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow.